Per Frank Saravelli, sources say a new provision in the CBA will allow each NHL team to place one 19-year-old CHL player in the AHL per season. So that is one per organization per season, and 18-year-olds are ineligible. So I believe that, for our purposes, last year, Zach Benson could have played for Rochester instead of having to go back to juniors. This year, Radim Merka will have to go back to the WHL, but in his age 19 season, he will be able to play in the AHL. So that is something that's very interesting. And again, this begins not next season, but the season after. So it would be perfect for Mertka. What do you think of this provision in the new CBA coming up? And I guess, you know what, actually, I'm going to wait for our next segment as well to really ask you your full thoughts on it. But for this specifically, what do you think about it? And if you say the word overdue, just know I agree with you.
I think the CHL at this point, I think they just need to do it to survive as a league. Like we saw guys like Jake O'Brien sign his entry level contract, preventing him from playing college hockey right after the draft, and we've seen a few other guys do that as well. I think Ben Kindle with Pittsburgh also signed his. So yeah, I think the league has to do it to survive at this point. Otherwise, it would just be a pre-college league, kind of like the USHL kind of is. Which sure is still a great league, but it's not like the quality of hockey we're used to seeing from the CHL, where we have guys like Matt Savoy, playing 2 years there, where we have a guy like Dylan Cousins going there after his draft year, just names like that. So yeah, I do think this is necessary for them to survive, because now guys can just spend one more year in the CHL, like someone like Jake O'Brien, for example, and then go to the AHL next year. Because if he had to play 2 more seasons there, that's probably a guy who would look at going to like a Michigan State or a Penn State, or looking at the college route. So I think this is huge to keep that alive. I also think it's good for the players too, because I think there's some guys who are too good for that level. I also think it may be bad for some players too, because these are still teenagers. A lot of them are underdeveloped. The AHL is an extremely physical league. Like that's more physical than the NHL at times. So if you're a 19-year-old teenager, if you're like 5'11", 165, and you take like a hit in the corners from a 6'5", like 220-pound vet defenseman, like that could derail your career if you get an injury at that level. So, hopefully teams are good with their judgment in deciding which guys are ready for this level, because I think it'll be great for some guys, but I think for some guys, it could kind of derail their career. For some guys that could use another year in junior.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's especially not only physically against, grown men for sure, but 3 games in 3 days. And you're
Yeah, that
tired.
too.
You're tired, and maybe, I don't know, you're in the corner and you drop your head to look at the puck for a second and you get railroaded. Something like that, like you were saying, younger players. And that's a cat that just fell off my window. If you're watching the video version of that, go ahead and check in around 29, 30 minutes in. Oh, you'll see a cat fall. Um, yeah, but wow, that's, speaking of getting railroaded, I got off tracks with that one. But yeah, it is beneficial for certain players. Your undersized guys like a Savoy, maybe it actually wouldn't have been great for him. Maybe that second year in the WHL would have been, or
Yeah, I mean,
would
we
have been
saw
best in the situation.
we saw Savoy in that prospect challenge. He got absolutely destroyed, and I forget what exactly he injured. I think shoulder sling, but
Yeah.
that took months off his development timeline.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And so that's, again, the AHL is guys that are just not able. A lot of them are just not able to make the NHL, whether it's just a little bit of slower hockey IQ and they're a little late to react to stuff, or they just don't have the foot speed, um, whatever it is. Or there's a lot of grinders and enforcers and or whatever that aren't able to tap in there. So they're in the AHL trying to make a living, and they see a guy that's got his head down, ready for a licking, and it's gonna get it can get pretty ugly. It can definitely get a little ugly though. So something to watch for, something that's interesting when it comes to the NHL, AHL, and the CHL.